Hi, it's Melissa, and it's National Straight Edge Day. I wasn't aware that we needed a day, but I guess we did. I don't really know what you do to celebrate National Straight Edge Day. I guess it's not much of a drinking holiday. So this guy on Tumblr is doing a little project, and there are prizes involved. Now, I don't need a prize. You don't need to enter me in anything. My prize is the joy of talking about my straight edgeism with the Tumblr verse. And but anyway, so he's doing this kind of project about why people are straight edge. And so I thought I would make this fascinating video about my own experiences with being straight edge. But it wasn't really until I looked at the question that it kind of occurred to me that the reasons that I'm straight edge are kind of, I don't want to say a secret, but are private. Like the event or events that really kind of made a difference and made me decide to be straight edge are things that I don't really talk to anybody about. I think that I've probably told 3 people in my entire life the real reason why I'm straight edge. So it's not really something that I share with anybody, so I'm probably not going to share it with the internet. But I want to talk about how I decided to claim being straight edge, because I think that that's probably more interesting than why people are straight edge. Because why are people straight edge? Because it's good for their bodies. There's really nothing that interesting or fucking enlightening or revolutionary about that. Like, it'd be good to your body. That's awesome. But I think that the reasons why people claim edge, because claiming edge is sort of a big deal because it's making a huge commitment. And I think that that is really interesting. Those stories are really interesting. So, and mine's not those. Don't get like excited like, oh, this girl's gonna tell us this really cool story, because I'm not going to do that at all. What I am going to tell you though is the truth, which is that in the 8th grade, I think it was the 8th grade, my best friend at the time, Rachel, and I was always really jealous of Rachel because she was always a lot prettier than me and funnier than me, and people liked her better than me and whatever. So there was some jealousy there. Her and a bunch of girls that we hung out with were walking around the halls with X's on their hands, and you know, it's the 8th grade, so I'm like, oh my god, my friends are doing something and I'm not doing it, and I need to understand what it is and do it too. And so I asked them about it, and they said, oh, well, it just means we're straight edge. And I was like, what's straight edge? I want to be straight edge. And they were like, Melissa, you are straight edge. You can put an X on your hand too. So I did, and I was really pumped about it. And it probably wasn't until high school that I really sort of understood the significance behind it and why it was important, and you know, made the conscious decision to be straight edge, to claim straight edge. I think that at that time I started, you know, maybe hanging out more with, you know, certain scenes, maybe hardcore scenes, different punk type scenes. And I feel like in those scenes, but just in adolescence in general, it's really important to have labels. I'm not saying it's actually good to have labels, but I think that labels are important to adolescents because we need a way to fit in or a way to distinguish ourselves from other groups, and sometimes labels are the best way to do that. And I definitely labeled myself as straight edge, and it had a really big effect on what I did and who I hung out with. In fact, I lost an entire group of friends in high school because I didn't want to go drinking with them on the weekends. You know, once they kind of discovered alcohol, our sleepovers got kind of boring for me because I would just sit and not drink, or drink chocolate milk or something, and it was not as cool. And so, because, you know, it's usually never fun to be the only sober person in a room. It can get kind of boring when everyone's falling over you, acting like fucking morons. It's like, okay. So, yeah, they stopped calling. Not because they were trying to be assholes or something, but it just became, well, Melissa doesn't want to drink with us, so there's no point in calling her, so they didn't. And I got new friends, which was fine. And when I got into college, it actually, I think, became really useful for me, because having the label of straight edge meant that I had, you know, 2 words to explain why I didn't do what a lot of other people were doing. And I felt like if I went to parties, because I did go to parties sometimes because I was in theater, and so sometimes I would have, you know, I would go to my cast parties, and it was really easy to go, and when people would offer me a drink, to just say, oh no, like, I'm straight edge, and they would usually understand. They were usually really cool, and they were like, okay, like, that's fine, like, don't drink then. I actually had a good friend in college, Omar, who he would bring sometimes like Martinelli's, like sparkling cider, to cast parties, and that's what we would drink, because he's not straight edge, but he at the time didn't really drink very much, so sometimes like that's what we would do, and like that's, you know, that was fun. And I had my roommate in college. She was actually my floor mate freshman year, and she became my best friend and roommate, Alex. She was also straight edge for the same reasons that I am, or similar reasons. And it was cool because then we could hang out all the time, and it was really useful to have that friendship with someone else who had the same interests or disinterests of mine. And she actually, you know, we would hang out and people would ask, well, what the fuck do you do on the weekend if you're not drinking and going to parties? And we'd be like, we're going to plays, we're going to art museums, we're playing Scrabble. And really, I mean, what's more fun than Scrabble? Or sometimes we would play categories. What's more fun than categories? That's right, nothing. So that was the kind of stuff that we would do, and we had fun, and it was fine. And it was really good for me, I think, in college to stay straight edge the whole time that I was there, and to, you know, stay really strong about it, and make those kinds of connections. And I actually ended up hanging out. I had this group of friends. We were all straight edge, and we would all hang out and fucking be straight edge together, and it was cool, whatever. And then I graduated, and I was, 22 or whatever when I graduated college, and I sort of felt like it wasn't important anymore to have a label. It wasn't that the lifestyle didn't mean anything to me anymore. I just didn't, having a label seemed ridiculous to me at that age. So I stopped identifying as straight edge, even though I pretty much still was. And I actually got a straight edge tattoo. And when I got the tattoo, I got SXE on my pelvis, and when I got it done, one of the tattoo artists at the tattoo parlor was like, is that a straight edge tattoo? Because one time I got beat up by these straight edge kids and told me this whole story, and I was like, what? I'm sorry. Like, I don't beat people up. I don't know. I don't understand. And he, was like, well, what if you stop being straight edge and then you have this tattoo on you? And I was like, you know what? I don't really identify necessarily with being straight edge anymore, but it's a celebration of having been straight edge and how that affected who I hung out with and what I did for fun. And my life now has a lot to do with the fact that I was straight edge, and that's important to me. But I pretty much still was straight edge. I didn't really do any. I never did anything. Like, I still to this day, I've never taken a drug. I've never smoked a cigarette. I did drink a few times, probably like twice a year. I'd have like a drink with like dinner, like a fucking fruity frozen drink. And then it came to a point though when I, about this year actually, when I was like, this is fucking dumb. Why am I not straight edge anymore? And I know everyone who's straight edge right now is watching this like, oh my god, like, true till convenient, what the fuck? You need to be straight edge forever. If you're not now, you never were. Like, just calm the fuck down for a second. When I realized that I wasn't even having any fun, because I don't like to drink. It tastes like shit, honestly. And it's not, I wasn't getting drunk, and I don't ever want to be drunk, necessarily. And I realized that this was all ridiculous. I said, you know what, I'm going to reclaim edge. I'm 26 years old, and I actually feel really strong about reclaiming edge. I felt like I was having a crisis of faith. Like, I felt like I was like, identity crisis, because I didn't have a label anymore. And I was like, that's silly. I don't know why a label is so important to me, but for some reason it was. And so I decided to reclaim and to take it kind of seriously. Not that it's hard, because I didn't do anything anyway, but just the idea of saying like, no, I'm straight edge, and that's important to me, and that's something that will always be a part of my life, and something that hopefully I never stop, because it's important to me, and I think that it's great, and it's a big part of my identity, and I'm happy about that, because it's good. And so that's my story, my totally lame, boring story. But happy straight edge day to all you straight edge kids out there. I love you, and keep not doing drugs and not drinking, because there are way cooler things to do with your time. But I'm preaching to the choir. Yeah, have a really great day. Mwah!